And there it goes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Roy Gerstenberger of First Person Services, and this is the Learning Community for Person-Centered Practices National Gathering KeyCast called Community for All with our presenters, Phil Weintraub and Liz Weintraub. We're using this KeyCast model because we appreciate the power of facilitating meaningful conversations. TLC PCP is a community, and like any community, we're stronger when we talk to our neighbors and we grow and build connections when we invite them over to chat. We're not a membership organization. We're a community of people who are interested in and practice person-centered approaches in order to realize the full inclusion of all people in their communities. We share learning and develop resources with each other. We're interested in all learning and all perspectives. And conversations like these KeyCast events help us to broaden our own understanding by hearing different voices. All are welcome to participate in this work. So it's my pleasure to introduce our presenters today. Phil Weintraub lives in Rockville, Maryland, is an advocate whose recent work includes a piece that he co-authored with Amy Hewitt of the University of Minnesota entitled, "We're Concerned and Yet Hopeful." Liz Weintraub is a senior policy specialist with the Association of University Centers on Disability and hosts the series Tuesdays with Liz. She worked with the office of Senator Casey of Pennsylvania as part of his aging committee staff and was appointed by President Obama to serve on President's Committee for People with Intellectual Disabilities. She also testified before the House Judiciary Committee during the hearings to confirm Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh. So, Liz and Phil, welcome and thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
You're more than welcome. We're very excited to be here today.
It's great to visit with you. In the United States, we have a pledge to one nation, individual with liberty and justice for all, and our conversation today has the title Community for All. And so, Liz, you've told me about one point in your life when you were told that you were part of a community, but you found that this really wasn't the case at all. Could you please start us off by telling us about that experience?
Yes, in the late 80s, the way that my parents got me into, the way that my parents were convinced that I should be put into this community, which was a private institution, was that it was called a community. I will never tell the name of it, but it looked like a typical community with about 7 or 8 houses, maybe even more, like 10 houses. And I lived in one of the houses with one other person. In the middle of the circle of houses was a payphone, and in front of the community, or the round of the houses, was a large rectangle building. So you would think that it was a community. In fact, when I visited that community to see whether I wanted to live there. And then when I first got there, I thought, yes, it does look like a community. But I soon realized that it wasn't the kind of community that Phil and I live in now. And I can tell you 2 reasons why. One was my neighbors were all people with my neighbors who are all people with disabilities. And then I realized that, you know, and then the other reason was that there was a long driveway to get down to this community. And that's not the community that we live in today.
So that's something that was a surprise to you. Is that something that that led you to your drive to be an advocate in helping other people truly feel belonging in the community?
Yes, I can tell you the second day that I got there, I knew right away it wasn't the type of community that I lived in because I grew up living at home with my family. And I think both of us did.
Yes.
And so I knew it wasn't the community there. And I can't tell you whether from that experience I knew that I wanted to be an advocate, but I knew that I didn't like that community. And it took me about 6, 7, maybe a year to fight my way out of that community. And it was just an awful period in my time, my life.
And Phil, you also grew up with your family.
Yes.
And you've had a number of experiences you were telling me about actually where you did feel connected in a sense of belonging. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Like actually when I was Liz and I joined a synagogue, and then like a few years ago I was actually on we did a rabbi search, and I was on the search committee, and people, like a lot of people healthy are actually friends that we met on synagogue trips and other activities at the synagogue.
And so how did other people, how did you find that other people were helpful for you in that?
They were like supportive, and how they were so happy with all the input I gave, and then that after they so helpful, and then they after the search they were able to get me onto the synagogue's board. And so it's like really feeling like I really belong in the community.
So being part of the actual governance of the synagogue itself.
Yes.
And you're saying that people were responsive to you and were expressing how they appreciated what you were offering and the gifts you had there?
Yes.
Were there times when folks were trying to help you and they weren't successful?
It's well, there was time way back just after I graduated from high school that my parents said they were going to get me into some work environment, and then it turns out it was a shelter workshop. But then they did I went for the assessment, and they had actually people at the workshop realized that I was too advanced. They made me do these sample work projects similar to what they do, and I just did it in seconds, saying you do, and that doesn't
not what you want.
I don't really belong there, and they should be really out.
Was there a problem there? I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that clearly was not something that you were looking for.
That was not what I was looking for, so it was basically something that I was not looking for, and I was somebody who they were not looking for. So it's like win-win.
I see. Liz, what was the process of moving out of that situation that you were describing? What led to the success of you moving from that situation to a more inclusive life experience for you?
And I still do, a friend, but she was a staff person, and now she's a friend of mine that I don't get to see very often anymore. But she was the first person that really believed that I could do this, could get out. She found me a job. She wanted to be my friend. So I think that people believing in people with disability is the number one way to help people to get out of places. If people still don't believe that we can do this, and there are so many times, even today in 2020, I'm sorry to say, but they don't believe in people with disabilities. They think that people should live in an institution. Maybe not an institution, but they should live in a group home. And people should live in their own homes just like anyone else.
And so in both of your situations, you're talking about the power of that relationship, someone believing in you and giving you an opportunity and then giving you encouragement and support. Does that sound right?
Yes, I can tell you that, and this is more about work other than living, but this is basically the same thing in my mind. Work is part of living. Is that people, my former boss, Andy Imbrado, was the first person that really said, I could do this. I could be a policy person. And yes, if it didn't work out for me to be a policy person, fine, but we need to try. And that's what I think, that we need to let people live in the community. And if they can't live in the community, or if they get nervous or whatever the case might be, then maybe a group home is the right thing for people to do. But let's try.
Yeah, and if or maybe what they should do, if they feel nervous, like they'll just throw them in the group home forever. And what they should do is just have a group home be a place where they could bring down their anxiety and then try again, and maybe they'll be more comfortable.
With the assumption that it sounds like community is the place where everybody needs to be.
Yes.
So you start with that. Interesting. So one of the things that we were curious about exploring, and Phil, this was part of what you had written with Amy, is, we're in this situation where we have this a COVID-19 pandemic, a major public health crisis, really. And we're concerned about making sure our communities stay strong, that everybody remains included. And we're wondering, though, what might be at risk. There are things that are at risk. And you wrote about that with Amy. And from the perspective of people who experience a disability, there are particular risks that you have in your mind, correct? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Like one of the risk is think about a group home. You think it's it's in a community because it's they're in a house and neighborhood similar to where we have grown up, and they really, it's just a bunch of 5 or 6 people with disabilities living in that house together, and then that could be just not only could be just a mini institution, but also could be which at the same time be like a little hotspot for COVID-19.
Right, right. And so you're particularly at risk there. You've written about how opportunities need to be given to people to both express their concerns, but also get out of those settings, right?
Yes.
For that reason.
Yes.
Yeah. Liz, have you been having conversations with others about this health emergency?
Yeah, in the Senate, where I tried to advocate for the different packages that Congress is working on right now, and they're up to package 4. But guess who aren't really included? People with disability. And they're saying, well, if it maybe reopening institutions, which is a very, very scary thought, but reopening Fernal, reopening Rantham in Massachusetts. But I think we need to allow people to live in the community, and we need to help people to live in the community with the proper support. And DSPs, direct support professionals, are the way to go. I think that we need support to live in the community, and we don't need a lot, but we do need someone to help us go to the grocery store, and our DSP is ready to help us with that. And I think that Phil is right. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But 9 out of 10, it does work out to live in the community. We can't be the only unique people. And yes, we might be unique because Liz and Phil are only 2 people, but we have a lot of friends who live in group home, and they can live in an apartment just as well as we can.
Yeah.
And you know that, but go ahead, please, Phil.
Yeah, because like, for example, like when you say, they say he's happy there, you should talk to the person that heard from him, not his mother, not the staff of the agency or what that serves him himself.
So ask the person.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Besides this, you've both spoken about the importance of assuming, if I can say this back to you, you can tell me whether I've got it correctly, but you presume that someone is capable of living in the community. You start with that and help them there first. And if they need other options, then it's for the purpose of eventually getting the community. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, say like use the group home as an education tool so that they'll eventually be in the community in a couple of years, not as a solution.
Yeah. And you've both spoken about the value of having people around you who believe in you and provide you with that support to make that happen. So the power of that relationship.
Yes.
And can I talk a little bit about families? I know that families want the best for us, and they only think that Johnny can, and we're thinking about someone, but I'll just use Johnny as his name. We think the family might think, well, Johnny is happy. and Johnny can't do this. And Johnny will be happier to live with 6 people. Well, maybe Johnny won't be happy. Have we ever asked Johnny? Have we ever tried to help Johnny to understand that there's options besides the group home? Have we ever said, can Johnny come and visit us? We would love you to come and visit us and see how we cook and how we clean and how we do things in our apartment. And we know that, and if we want Johnny to see our DSP, and I'll use her name is Mary, we can see that Mary can help us. And Mary, before COVID, Mary came into our apartment every week to help us do things.
Like organize.
Okay, yeah.
And we also have someone to help us with our money, and we have that person. And so what I'm saying is that if Johnny is afraid to live by himself or with one other person, or if Johnny's mother is afraid that for Johnny's well-being, visit us and learn and try.
So that they can have that firsthand experience.
Yeah.
Have you had people visit you for that reason?
Have you?
Not I know of. Not I know of.
Yeah, but you're definitely examples, and that's
Yes.
that's another form of advocacy for sure.
I don't think that people have ever thought about that, but that's another possibility.
Yeah. So Mary is the direct support professional.
Yeah.
So that's for sure, she's an essential worker, right?
Yeah.
In that experience. And it would be nice to, I think that you were referring before, as the recognition of the importance, the essential worker status of direct support professionals, and making sure that they're safe, that they're supported in that essential work and well paid, so they can make sure that we have whole communities in this way.
And I worry about people, Mary. I worry in this COVID environment that no one is talking about Mary. Everyone's talking about first responders, about doctors, about nurses, about the ER people. And don't get me wrong.
And the ambulance people and firemen.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. They are really, really important. But so is Mary. And if Mary isn't able or doesn't have the experience or the training to help me, then we'll be stuck in an institution. And in this case, if Mary doesn't have the PPE equipment, then Mary gets sick and Mary quits. Let's suppose Mary gets COVID and Mary quits
or dies.
What will happen to us? Phil and I are very capable, will be okay. But our friend Johnny, who lives in a group home, or other friends who live in a group home, are not as capable of doing things. And I worry about that. So we need home community-based services. We really do. We need people to say that community is for all. It
Yeah.
can't be community for some.
Community for all. Very good. So before we finish up, I've really enjoyed talking with you today. I want to thank you again. I've learned a lot. I'm wondering if there's, looking forward, are there things that you're hopeful about, that you're seeing signs of? One is, we were chatting before we started, was this is the 30th anniversary of the ADA, right? That's exciting and a time to reflect. But what are you hopeful about looking forward?
I'm hopeful, like after like another couple years, after this COVID mess has cleared out, and we also and then we got leadership that cares about everybody, that hopefully we could get through this, get through this. Everyone could be able to be happy in the community with like down to like few complaints, and not like what we're in now.
And your thoughts, Liz?
I'm hopeful that we can be a society for everyone. Everyone. It can be them or us or some. Community is for all. Employment is for all. Housing is for all. Everything is. I don't want a division. Everyone will eventually become disabled once in a while, because of an accident or whatever.
Or getting old.
Yeah, elderly. And I know that firsthand for taking care of my parents who have passed away. But everyone will become disabled once in a while. I'm sorry to say that. And that might sound like I'm being not fair to my friend, but I am. I want people to realize that that you can become disabled anytime. And if I think everyone can have a job, everyone can live in a community, and everyone deserves to have health care.
You bet. You bet. Well, it's right there in the ADA, right? Disability is a natural part of the human experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Liz and Phil, this has been wonderful. I really appreciate you being with us today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.